Let's take a look at some information and charts on Uniswap for Brave New Coin. So Uniswap is a traditional DEX using the AMM model, automated market maker, 50-50 split. If you visit the site, you can see the complete breakdowns of all the TVL between the pools. If you've visited Twitter lately, you'll notice that there's a lot of unhappy people in regards to version 3. I haven't used it yet. I'm going to reserve judgment, but based on the discussions, it appears as though it could be a step back from version 2, maybe a little too complicated for most people. We'll see how the cards fall over time, but I gotta say I've seen many more unhappy people than happy people in regards to the changes, and you can read all about version 3 on their blog. Ultimately, it's a competitive world out there in the AMM DEX world, so if the market doesn't like something, they'll go somewhere else. If it's harder to do something on one place and easier to do it on another, the incentives will align and liquidity will move around. Ultimately, if it's a DEX, all I care about is volume, really. Where's the volume happening? Currently still, mostly Uniswap, Sushi second, and then the aggregators after that, with Curve taking a decent chunk in the past 24 hours as well. Over the past few days, Uniswap volume is continually getting larger and larger and larger. I mean, they're not going anywhere. That's pretty clear. They're going to remain the leader, most likely. They even had a proposal by Vitalik to do something with their token, and it's always tough to separate the token from the exchange, the art from the artist, if you will. You know, I can be bullish on the prospect of DEXs. It's the prospect of governance tokens that you kind of lose me a little bit. So if you believe in DeFi, if you think DeFi is here to stay, if you think DeFi has another round or two left in it, then I think all of these tokens sort of as a grouping are fine. But if you're concerned about US regulation relative to some of the stuff that's already happening, at least announced today with Binance and the IRS and KYC AML stuff, then these tokens and exchanges may have a tougher time going forward. Relative to that news, it's certainly less bullish, more bearish. So regardless of how you feel about the enforcement or the reality of any of that happening, it's just the news that's probably enough to scare people at this point. So I would definitely watch out for that. And I'll just mention the managed DeFi portfolio for Techemy on Enzyme.finance. If it ever doesn't display correctly on Enzyme, you can search it up for, through any of the explorers for the most part. This is Xerion, so you can just type in Techemy and it'll pop up. But this is a portfolio consisting of 15 to 20 DeFi coins, including Uni, including Sushi, including Balancer, Bancor, some of the other DEXs. So this or something like this is certainly what I'd be looking into if you are not just all in the Uni camp or all in the Sushi camp. Some sort of index or portfolio of coins that I manage, and you can send ETH or USDC through Enzyme, and you can track AUM, deposits, withdrawals, all that stuff as well. So if we look at the TVL for Uni, just continues to increase. That's what you want to see. I guess I'd expect if version 3 was more bullish for Uni, you'd expect a bigger TVL increase. Maybe that's asking too much, but I feel like if the market was warm on version 3, it would say, bring on all the liquidity here, guys, but I don't see that on the TVL chart. If we look at the token itself, this was the initial airdrop in September, and since then transaction counts have been basically flat or sideways, and I wouldn't expect transaction counts in general to mean much of anything for governance tokens. It's hard to say, you know, this looks bullish, this looks bearish. It's just going to track the price, basically. If the price is up, transaction counts will go up. There's, at this point, very little governance going on relative to speculation for most of this stuff. And when ETH fees rise, transactions will fall. When ETH fees rise, average transaction values will rise as well, because you're going to see fewer smaller transactions in general. So not anything too specific to comment on there. Here's NVT, inverse metric of economic utility, and active addresses. Again, here was the airdrop in September, and active addresses are up slightly since early April, down from the highs in February. And again, it's kind of just, all over the place. No real signal that I can discern here. NVT up slightly from the lows. So certainly not something you want to see if you're bullish on Uni. But again, does the on-chain activity for any of this stuff even matter? I just kind of look at it to see if there is a signal. I think it's still worth looking at. I also think it's important to recognize probably not a signal here. I think Google Trends for Uniswap is probably a better signal of people using Uniswap versus looking at the on-chain analytics for the token. And obviously volumes are exploding for Uni, and the price for the token is still sideways up. It doesn't look weak or bearish by any means, but something like this is impressive. So there's definitely a lot of people looking at Uniswap. This could be a Doge clone effect where there's a lot of Doge clone volume going on lately. I don't know, but Google Trends all-time highs, so that's certainly not bearish for the exchange. Is it bullish for the token? It doesn't look like it's had too much of an effect recently. We're still in this sideways up channel. Really all the strength came in January, ended in February, and then since February, it's been highly volatile, definitely slightly bullish, but not as exciting as January to February. So maybe need some time to relax a bit, let the MAs catch up a bit more on these lower time frames. But overall, it looks fine in its current form. Now, what you don't want to see if you're bullish is cross below this 200 period moving average or the 5200 cross, similar to late December. You don't want to see the opposite of that if you're bullish on token price. Same thing with cloud. You want price above the cloud. It's actually been above the cloud ever since it broke above the 200 period moving average in December. So if this gets droopy below the cloud, if it gets droopy below the 12-hour 200 or the 100-day moving average, that's when I'd be concerned that maybe this is a strengthening bearish momentum rather than a weakening bullish momentum. But overall, it still looks fine here. I don't know if it's a buy in the grand scheme of things, just generally. But, if you believe in this trend channel, I'm sure you'll do fine. But again, as soon as that breaks, it's going to be a tough decision to hold that or not based on the trend stuff, because the trend stuff will not look bullish if we break this channel. Uni-BTC certainly looks much more bullish than Uni-USD. And again, it's more of this sideways up. Nothing like January, clearly, but definitely not down since February, right? Like it continues to slowly go up. And in general, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see stuff like this in January. It just doesn't last and inevitably needs a pullback. This looks like it's on the right side of bullish for more continuation here. Uni-ETH, though, since late March has just been mega death, mega doom, below the 200, below the cloud. Doesn't really look like a buy here. I'd be waiting for a bullish divergence on RSI, if anything. But it looks like ETH will continue to be the winner relative to Uni. So overall, the DEX continues to make improvements. It doesn't seem as though version 3 is what the market expected, based on the comments that I've seen. And maybe it's just my own bubble. Volumes continue to be higher than everywhere else in the DEX land. TVL continues to rise slightly. On-chain metrics for anything that has a governance token are basically signalless, not really telling you too much there. Google Trends, though, all-time high. And Uni-USD continues to look relatively bullish. And I would just be careful. If we start breaking lower lows, anything like that, you're going to get a series of more and more evidence for bearish continuation. And it looks bullish against BTC and bearish against ETH. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading. What do you think about Uni version 3? Let me know in the comments.